This morning, we want to welcome our special guest, Nicole Buntt. Nicole is here as a biological mom. You know, on this show, we often talk about the other side of foster care. We always have the foster parents, the adoptive parents on the show, talking about their experience of adoption and foster care. So we thought it would be really interesting to hear it from the other side. Nicole has been gracious enough to agree to come on and tell us her story. Nicole, just, what you're comfortable talking about would be great.
Okay, sure. I'm not real sure what to say. I grew up without parents myself. My mom died when I was little. I was 12. My dad's been in prison my whole life, so whenever my mom passed away, I moved to Texas from Oklahoma and kind of went crazy. Got pregnant at 15, another one by 17, and then lost them by 22 or 23. And I was in and out of prison, back and forth, all their younger years. And
now, wait, let's go back for a minute. You said lost them. They went into the system?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they were staying with my aunt, and I was in prison, and my aunt started doing drugs and selling drugs. And so when that happened, I guess CPS was like following her, trying to find her, and she would just move house to house. Well, I got out of prison and didn't know that, and showed up there with the girls at my aunt's and did what we always do, got high. And then the next morning, there was a knock on the door, and it was CPS.
And how old were the girls at that time?
They were 4 and 6. I had been out for 48 hours, and
oh my God.
Yeah, and was arrested again because I was on probation and I had been using. Got the girls put into foster care.
So were the girls there when you were arrested? Did they?
No, they were. CPS knocked on the door, and I answered it because I didn't know anything was going on, and my aunt was at work. So they came in, they talked to them and stuff, asked for a drug test from me and my aunt later on that evening. So we both went in there, and I didn't give them one, and she did, and she failed. They were there the next day to get the girls, and I had to go to court later on that evening. So I went back into the prison system that day. Fought for 2 years inside a prison to try to get them back, and when I got out, I took it to jury trial. It was a month and a half of jury trial trying to get the girls back, but I'd been gone for 2 years already at that point. They'd had them for 2 years, they just didn't.
So during that 2 years, did you know where they were?
No.
Did you?
No, I had no idea. Once I got sent from Johnson County to the prison, I didn't know anything at all. All I knew is when they had court dates, and I wasn't involved in the court dates because I was so far away.
So you had no contact with them whatsoever?
None. Yeah, none at
So
all.
were any of your family able to have contact with them?
Yes, my grandmother had contact with them. She did visitations with them, and one of the other grandmothers, one of their dad's moms, did visitations with them for a little while, but they wouldn't place them in either one of their homes because they were older.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the girls were so young?
And they were so young, yes.
Okay. Tell me kind of what was that like, not knowing? Just the not knowing, I think.
It was horrible. For the past 10 years, I've searched Facebooks, and I've Googled, and I've had my sister-in-law works for an attorney, and she's tried to find things, We've searched and searched and searched, and you had Ashley, and she was 10 minutes away.
So on the back side of this story, Nicole's 2 daughters.
Mm-hmm.
I adopted Nicole's oldest daughter, Ashley, and she was 8 when she came to live with us. So the girls had been in and out of many, many, many different homes. It was not a good experience for them either. A lot of times, kids that young go into one home and that home ends up adopting them. However, in this case, for whatever reason, I'm not sure, but the girls were moved around quite a bit, had quite a few homes. I've even taken them to foster parent events before and had someone come up and say, oh my God, I know them. They used to be in our neighbor's, foster home or whatever. Wow. So they had been in quite a few foster homes. When we took them, they actually told us we can't place them in the same home because they're so hard to handle.
Yes.
So we took Ashley. She never really gave us a lot of trouble. Was always very standoffish, very hard to get to know, and always has been since she was 8. Doesn't make connections, doesn't trust adults whatsoever. She's still that way.
Yeah. And stubborn. And how old is she now?
She's very hard-headed.
She will be 18 in September.
Got it.
So we ended up, I kind of knew who Nicole was. So we kind of stalked her on Facebook so I could keep up. And I'm sure you stalked me too, yeah. And I think that's kind of what foster parents do, and probably biological parents, if you find out. Johnson County is such a little area.
It took me 10 years to figure it out, though.
Wow.
It did. Different first names and last names.
Right,
did
exactly.
That. Yes.
We had, like I said, stalked, so we knew what area she lived in. We actually purposefully didn't spend a lot of time in Cleburne going to, Walmart and things, because we were afraid that, we would come in contact, because as a foster parent, as an adoptive parent, it's scary.
I'm sure.
It's scary to think about. Especially for new families going into it, are very scared. I did an orientation just last week, and that was like the main topic is, what do you do if you have a foster kid and you see you're at the store and you see the biological family, what do you do?
That would be scary.
And I said, well, first of all, the biological family knows that they're not supposed to, approach, that they're not supposed to really have contact unless it's supervised by CPS. So most of them are not going to do something to mess that up. Of course, I'm sure there's the exception, but, it's not as scary as it has to be. So one of the main reasons I asked Nicole to be here today is, as an adoptive family, I think so many people go in and they look at the biological family as being a threat.
Yes.
That, the kids are going to want to go back to them. The kids are, that's who they want to be with. They're going to, take off with them or whatever.
You don't want to lose your children.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's very threatening. I felt that the same way too years ago. And as I adopted more and more children, I realized that nowadays with social media, it is impossible to stop kids are curious. It's just natural for them to be curious about where they came from.
That's how she found me, is Facebook.
Yeah.
She messaged me on Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's going to happen. As a mom, I feel like it's better to support that and help the kids, if it's a healthy situation, to help with them and support it rather than try to stop it, because they're going to go behind your back.
Then you're the bad guy.
Right,
yes.
Exactly. So kind of what happened from there was when Ashley turned 17, they know everything, right?
Everything.
Yeah. Everything, absolutely everything. So she's probably going to kill me if she hears this, but she knew everything, and she ran away one night. So we had no idea where she went, and my first thought was she went to Nicole. She went to find Nicole. So I stopped stalking her on Facebook, and I actually made contact with her and said, Nicole, here's who I am. Ashley ran away. Is she with you? Because the only thing I could think of is she's out there somewhere, no idea who she's with, where she's at, and I felt better knowing that she was with her than being out on the street.
Right.
And Nicole said, no, she's not, but I'll help you find her. So Nicole knew a lot of people in the area where we live. She got on the phone. I was on the phone. We were both looking for her, and Nicole called me a couple hours later and said, okay, I found her. Here's where she's at.
She was very mad at me for that.
Yes. So in this past year, we have stayed in contact. Ashley wasn't happy about that.
No, she quit talking to me.
So we've stayed in contact, though, keeping each other kind of up on, because there was times that she would see her and I wouldn't, and times that I would see her that she wouldn't.
Yeah.
So we kind of kept each other up on what was going on. Ashley, in this last year, has had a baby, so now Nicole and I share a grandson. It's very unthreatening to me. I mean, I am perfectly comfortable with Nicole.
I feel the same way with you.
You know, I know that that's a safe place. I know that Ashley is loved there. She's taken care of. That my grandson is loved there and taken care of. So it just feels perfectly natural.
That's interesting. So I have some questions. Is that okay?
Of course.
So how old were the girls when they got taken away from you?
4 and 6.
4 and 6. And then you got Ashley.
I got Ashley at 8.
At 8. And what was your other daughter's name?
Mackenzie.
Where's she at?
She is adopted with another family.
Okay. So you got her when she was 8, and then you adopted her at 8,
Yes.
right? So then, fast forward 10 years, she runs away. You
Yes.
find her. Did you bring her back home?
She wouldn't come back home.
Okay.
And you know, in Texas, when you're 17, you're an adult.
Right. Which is
so
not
they couldn't
true.
make her come back home. Yeah. So she actually, I didn't even see her until the baby was 2 months old.
Oh, wow.
She recently came back home, and it's kind of neat because she living at home, and then she'll go over to Nicole's and spend the weekend. Mm-hmm. Her and the baby will go over there and spend the weekend, and
she's got a lot of love.
Yeah, she does. She has lots of people that love her. She still has this wall up, and I'm not sure that that's ever going to come down.
Right.
But I have seen it's been very good for her. This baby has softened her.
Oh, yeah.
She is an amazing, amazing mother.
Good.
Like,
Good.
she will not even, she'll be like, well, I need to take a shower. And I'll say, well, let me watch him while you take a shower. No, that's not your responsibility. And so very much, really dotes on him, and is just
she's doing a very good job.
a great mother. Yes.
So after you and her connected, did y'all connect on Facebook before she ran away?
Yes.
So y'all were talking back and forth, and you knew that? Did you know that?
No.
You did not know that?
No. I kind of suspected it. I didn't know it.
Yeah, we started talking, I think she was 15, she messaged me, and we probably messaged back and forth for about a year. Mm-hmm. Never talked on the phone or anything. She was standoffish. And then she got mad at me over something. I don't remember what it was, and didn't talk to me for about a year until she ran away and all that happened. Mm-hmm. And then she started talking to me again, and then she stopped talking to me again. And
so when you got out of the system, right, did you tried to find your kids,
yes.
but you couldn't find them. It took you how long to find them?
10 years.
10 years to find them. My goodness.
Yeah.
Right? So then you found them, but you didn't have any contact until Ashley reached out to you.
Yes.
And what about Mackenzie? Do you have any contact with her
No.
right now?
None at all.
Okay. But that could come later on, right?
Yes.
So are you in Johnson County right now? Are you living in Johnson County?
Yes, I
Very
live in
good.
Cleveland.
And you're productive? You're working?
Oh, yes.
Yeah?
I have an 8-year-old son and a 14-year-old stepson.
Good for you.
Been married 10 years. Ever
Good
since
for
all of
you.
that happened, I got married right afterwards to a wonderful husband.
Good.
Wonderful.
Good. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Right? So, yeah, you picked yourself up and you said, I'm going to do the right thing.
Yes, when the girls were taken, that was it. I was in and out of the system for many, many years since I was a teenager. And as soon as they were taken, I was like, whoa, what am I doing?
Right.
So.
But I think what this has really done for Ashley is really kind of opened her eyes to the struggles.
Yes.
I've talked to her about, look how hard it is being a mom, having a newborn. Imagine doing that at 15.
Right.
She's fixing to be 18. So imagine what that would be like at 15. So it's really made her realize that, things are harder.
Right.
We've talked about, like, her going back to school, and we've talked about how important that is, that, she finished her education. And that was one of the things she said was, I was talking about, that I didn't get my GED until I was like 30. Mm-hmm. And she said, I thought that's what you just recently got, a few years ago. And I said, no, that was my college. And she was like, oh my God, I didn't realize you had college. I thought that was just your high school. And I said, no. And so she said, I see how much Nicole struggles.
Yeah.
And so she is seeing the importance. It's almost like a light went off, and this baby, I think because of the baby.
Wow, yes.
Don't you think so?
Yes. I don't think that she'd ever come around and I'd ever actually got to see her face to face if it wouldn't have been for him.
Yeah.
Babies bring people closer.
Right.
Right.
They do.
So when we kind of connected, I mean, we had talked, and here, I guess when Ashley was at Nicole's house, and with the baby, Nicole called me and said, Ashley's here, she's mad, she's not going to stay, she's walking off.
She needed somewhere to go that was safe.
And I said, I'll be there. Send me your address and I'll be there.
Right.
And I honestly did not think that Ashley would go with me.
I knew she would. She told me, she said, I'll call Patty. And I was like, okay, well, I'll call Patty.
And so I drove over there. She got in the car. We went and picked up the baby. You know, she is, she's grew up a lot in the last year. And I think the big thing is I want people to realize that it does not have to be scary for these kids to have a relationship with their biological family. It's not always healthy, but I feel like that if the parents are in a good place, you know, if they have made strides to, you know, straighten their lives out, that is just one more connection that these kids have. And you can't ever have too many people that love you or that support you.
Right.
So I just really, with all my heart, believe that, you know, we should support that if it is a healthy relationship.
That is really cool. Do you feel good that you're able to talk to Ashley and reach out to her and be a part of her life right now?
Yes.
Especially with the grandbaby. Did you ever think you'd have grandchildren?
No.
Aren't they the best?
Yes.
Yes.
That's an amazing feeling.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
And, you know, the other night, Ashley had gotten an argument with one of our other teenage daughters, and Ashley said, well, I'm just going to leave. And so I told her, okay, you want to leave, let me take you to Nicole's.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I knew that was a safe place.
Right. Did she leave?
So she did leave. She went to, she's living with two of my grown daughters now.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
That's
still
helpful.
a healthy place.
Yes.
Right.
Not very far from Nicole, so she knows where she's at. So, and, you know, I mean, Ashley's got, that baby's got grandparents everywhere that loves him.
Right. Not to mention aunts and uncles.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, we're going to take a break.
Okay, let's do it. We'll take a break here on Joco Community Radio, and we'll come right back with more intentional parenting.
So, Nicole, I'm curious about, said you have another son and a stepson. So, how long have they known about? Have they always known?
They've always known. I've got the girls' pictures all over my walls right beside theirs, and they've always known. My 8-year-old, that has been his dream, is to find his sisters. And then when he found out he was an uncle, oh my goodness, he thinks he's grown now.
So how was that when he first met Ashley?
He was scared. He was scared of her.
I would be too.
Yeah.
That's only because you know her.
She's
I
pretty
am
scary
scared of her.
sometimes.
Well, the first time he's seen her, it was the situation where I called you.
Right.
And she was very upset with me.
Right.
So the next time when he seen her, he kind of was standoffish, but he was very curious. He wants to be a part of his sister's life. And especially be an uncle. Oh. He loves that part. He told his whole school that he was an uncle.
Aww.
As soon as Nash was born.
That is cool.
That is exciting.
And so, how did Ashley react? Because when did she know you had a brother?
It was a couple of years ago when we were messaging back and forth. I told her she had a little brother that was just dying to meet her.
And how did she react to that?
I was worried that she was going to feel like, you know,
why do you have him?
yes,
and not,
why do you have him? I had him right after I completely lost custody of them.
Okay.
Probably like 6 months later.
Because that's a common reaction, I think, for kids if they find out.
Yes, you replaced me.
Yes.
Yes. And
That you love them enough to keep
Yes.
them, but not me. Yeah.
Yeah, and when I got pregnant, that was all I could think about, is that was going to be how they felt one day. And my husband was just reassured me, it's going to be okay, you know, your life is different now. So I was worried she was going to act like that, but she's so good with him. Like, that's her little brother, and she treats him like that's her little brother.
And she recently went over there and spent the weekend to babysit him,
She
right?
babysat all weekend, and we've never let anybody do that. Like, we went out of town, and she stayed at the house with the boys, and they loved it. I asked them, do you want Grandma to come watch you, or would you like your sister to? And they were like, my sister.
Aw.
They loved it.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was excited about going over there, and she took the baby and spent the weekend. And so what would you, as a biological parent, what would you tell foster parents that are facing this?
We're just as scared as you are. Really. When it come to you, I just respect you so much. You took care of my daughter when I couldn't. Like, there's so many bad places they could end up,
Right.
and for her to end up with you, and I heard all about you. I've known about you for a while.
Uh-oh.
Good things. Good things.
From Ashley?
No.
Definitely not.
Oh, she says wonderful things about you.
Really?
Yeah, she does. She actually
That
does.
surprises me.
Yeah, she says wonderful things.
Next time record it and send it to Pat.
Don't think I won't. But I would just say that we're just as scared as you are, and I don't know from other people's standpoint if it's always a good idea, but I've craved it for 12 years now. I've looked for my daughters for 12 years, and when they were taken, it made me wake up. It made me realize, oh my God, you're a mother, you need to grow up, it's time. You know, and so we're just as scared as they are.
You know, I think a lot of times we look at, as foster parents, you know, of course, we hear all the bad stuff. You know,
Yes.
we hear the really, really
The gory details.
Yes, yes. So we get to see all the ugly, and so it's very hard to be empathetic sometimes of biological families. So I think sometimes we need to step back and look at. You know, I try to put myself there. If I had a child at 15, when I was 15, was I at a place where I would have done anything different? Probably not. You know, I would have probably ended up the same way because I didn't have a good childhood either. And so it would have probably been the same outcome. And so I think that we really have to, you know, put ourselves in that place as,
Right.
You know, parents of, you know, having empathy.
Mm-hmm.
Having empathy for these kids. And for these parents. And, you know, yes, there's lots of these kids that are in foster care because of really bad things.
Oh, yeah.
But there's a lot of kids that are in foster care because of mistakes.
Right.
And we all make mistakes.
Right.
You know, we all deserve forgiveness.
Were you ever thinking before the girls got taken, were you ever thinking, oh, that'll never happen to me? CPS will never.
Always.
Yeah,
Always.
they'll stay with me forever.
Well, I thought it was better that they stayed with my aunt.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I got really bad, I was probably 18 when we started staying there. But it was more or less we moved in, and then you can go do this if you want to, and put them to bed, and then go out and have fun, and one of those things. And I got so used to it, and I'm doing a good thing. They're staying here with my aunt while I act stupid, but it wasn't a good thing.
Right.
It
So
wasn't.
your aunt was using as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. She had 4 kids of her own, and they were taken too whenever my girls were taken.
Oh wow.
But they were given to my grandparents because they were teenagers. And the girls were 4 and 6. So, yeah.
So they immediately went off into foster care at that
Yes.
point in time.
Mm-hmm.
How many foster care parents did they stay with between 6 and 8?
I don't think
Ashley?
they even know.
I don't know.
Really?
I don't think
It's
they
a
even
lot.
know. Yeah.
Really?
Like probably over 8 or 10.
Wow.
Yeah. A lot of times you know, these kids get moved around because of behaviors. You know, they're angry. It's hard to find foster families that will take sibling groups. So often these kids are separated, and then that causes them to act out even more. I know Ashley was always so angry because her sister was at this place or that place, and she felt like she was supposed to take care of her. Even though she was
She told
only,
me that, too.
9 or 10 months older than her, she felt like she was responsible for taking care of her. She still feels that way.
Yes, she does.
And so very hard to for these kids to be separated. I mean, you think about how hard that is, that
They
lose
everything.
their family, they lose their school, their friends, the house that they live in, their pets,
their siblings,
their toys, and then they lose their siblings.
So Ashley and Mackenzie have not spoken since they were separated.
They have.
Oh, they have.
Yes,
Oh,
they
that's
have.
good
They
news.
have contact now.
Okay, good,
Yes.
good.
Yes.
And are they excited to be able to see each other and hang out, or?
They're not real close.
Yeah.
I think Ashley is excited about being able to keep up with Mackenzie, to know what's going on and everything. Mackenzie still has a lot of issues and is still struggling. But it's good for Ashley to know that she's okay, that she's, safe where she's at. She's not okay, but she's safe where she's at.
That was my big thing. Just to know that they were okay. 10 years of not knowing if they were even alive anymore.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
That was the worst part.
Talk about stress.
That was the worst part.
Yeah. Yeah.
And of course you have the families the biological family that, that's like a easy fix for them because the kids are gone and they don't have to worry about them anymore.
Right.
But then on the other hand, you have the families like Nicole that has made mistakes and that worry about the kids and that are kicking themselves every day.
But you were so young when you had Mackenzie and Ashley. If you could go back and change it, what would you have done differently? Could you have done anything differently?
I don't know. If I'd have had family support, I think it would have all been different.
Yeah.
But I lived here, and my family lived in Oklahoma. And like I said, I had no mother and no father. So my grandmother and my grandfather lived here. But that was the only family I had here. And I don't know. If I had my mom, she'd have been bopping me in the head.
Right.
I would have never went that route.
Right.
Yeah. So I think it would have been completely different.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of, all of our thing. I mean, even as adult parents, sometimes you just need that support. Somebody saying,
sure,
hey, I know how you feel,
Right, right. So is there a community or a resource group that you can go to for women who have had their children in foster care? Do you have a support group that you actually reach out to that you can talk to?
No.
Do they have anything like that?
I think up in Tarrant County, like Tapestry,
Yeah.
The church up there has a support. They have like several support groups. They have ones for foster parents, adopted parents, waiting parents, and they have one for people that have lost their children. So yes, there is, things like that. Just not in the Johnson County area.
Well, they need something like that. I think because I think a lot of women who have gone through the same thing that you've gone through, not because you intended for it to happen, but you made bad choices and it happened to you. You just happened to be the one that got your kids taken away, right? There's got to be something. I mean, a resource or a facility or something that you can go be at and talk to those people that were in similar situations.
That
Y'all
would be nice.
I'm going to say the word commiserate with, but I don't know if that's the right word to use, but kind of, you've got to, people have got to understand, you've got to be able to relate to somebody that's been through the same thing you've been through so you can work through it, unless you've already worked through it and you don't need that.
Oh no, I don't know if I'll ever work through it.
Right, right.
It's something that'll hold on to me forever. Every time I see Ashley get mad or something, it's like, I'm like, oh, I did this, everything wrong I did.
Right.
That's how I feel.
And I think it's just us knowing each other. I mean, I know we were talking last night and texting last night, and she said something about Ashley was mad or something, and I was like, I'm so sorry,
I told my husband,
so
I said, why is she apologizing to me? I'm the reason she's so angry.
But at some point in time, you have to forgive yourself, right?
I was just thinking
That's
that.
what my husband tells me all the time.
You have to get to a place. You said, I don't think I'll ever get over this. But you have to get to a place where you forgive yourself and understand that mercy and grace takes over the rest.
That's what my husband tells me all the time.
You have to. Otherwise, it's gonna eat you at you.
Yes,
We,
it
as
really
parents,
does.
I think we've all made mistakes with our kids. I know I have.
I
I
don't
only
think
had
there's any
one.
parents that haven't.
Listen, mine's a
Right,
brat, so
right.
I know I have.
Yeah, but we've all made mistakes. But it's just how do you recover from it going forward?
Right.
You can't go back and change anything.
No,
all you can do
you
is
can't.
move forward. So
You're right.
forgive yourself. It happened.
And
right?
I look at her and I think, what could I have done different that would have made her more I mean, because there's just like, she has this wall up.
Oh,
She's a different kind of introverted.
She is. She is. And, we never had the problems with her that we were told we would have when we took her. We didn't have, she didn't.
She is a wonderful kid.
She is.
Really is.
She
She always has been. She's got a very big heart, and that's probably why she's got such a wall up now, because she loved so strong before, and then she was ripped away, from family, and then put through foster care and all that. So I understand the wall. I would probably be the same way.
When we first got her and she was 8, she always talked about, well, when I grow up and I have a baby, I'm going to name it Nicole.
Aww.
And that was like, so I know that love is there.
We were very close.
I think she has, denied it and buried it and put up that wall, but I know that it's there.
Yes.
I think that she's just had so many years to grow that anger. I actually asked her.
It's easier to be mad than it is to hurt.
Yes.
Yes.
Or to forgive, right?
Or to forgive, yes.
Yes. I asked her to actually come with us today, but she is very shy as well as standoffish. And she was like, no, that's not my thing. But I did
At least she knows it.
But I did ask her if she was okay with me inviting Nicole here. And she was like, oh, yeah, that's fine. She was okay with it. She just didn't want to be here.
Yeah.
So, and she knew we were going to talk about her, right?
Right?
In a good way, right?
Yeah.
I mean, she's had a lot. She's gone through a lot.
She has.
She has. But I have seen her change so much just since the baby.
Oh, my God. He has made a big difference in her life. He
That's
has.
amazing. Sometimes having kids, they have a tendency to save you from yourself, right?
Yes, and it's almost like it gave her something to love.
Yes.
And I see this love that she hasn't been able to show anyone else. And she's always telling me, just look at him. Just look at
He's amazing.
Yeah, just look at him. He's doing this, and he's doing that. And she's like amazed and seeing new things that, well, you know how that is when you have a baby and they're going through all these changes and she'll send me pictures and say, look what he did, and I mean, it's just.
That's cool that she's sharing those moments with y'all, though.
It is.
She didn't put that wall up to,
Right.
Keep him from y'all.
Right. And
Right.
she
That's
says,
just sharing it.
Shouldn't he be doing, shouldn't he be crawling? No, he's 4 months old. No, he should not be crawling. He's okay.
He's been
Slow down.
And
he's been cutting teeth since he was a month and a half.
Yeah. And so I keep having to tell her, he is exactly where he's supposed to be. Quit
Yeah.
worrying about him,
Right.
But she does. And that's great that she worries about him. I mean, it shows how much she's.
So where did she stay when she was pregnant? So that you didn't see her until the baby was 2
with
months old?
friends.
Yeah? Just
With friends.
She bounced around.
what
bounced
do they
around.
call it? Sofa surfing?
Yes,
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
exactly what she
Sofa
did.
surfing, yeah.
And she even said herself when she came home, she said, I realize I cannot have Nash just staying with whoever.
That's what I begged her to understand. I said, that's what I did. At the beginning of everything that I did, that's how it started. It's not having anywhere to go. So I'd go from one place to another. That's not stable.
Right.
And she realized that. She knows.
And, our house has never been an easy house to live in, right, Amy?
Amen.
We've got 20 kids.
Right.
I mean, who would
Lord. Right.
want to live, who in their right mind would want to live with 20 kids?
Only Patty Rooks. That's
I was
I'm
about
just
to
saying.
say, only you.
Patty.
When she said the other day, I'm leaving, this is crazy, and I said, hey, I don't blame you. I'd move out too if I could.
Can I go with you?
Yeah, exactly. We adopted all these kids when they were little, and they were so cute, and they all lost their teeth at the same time, and they all started kindergarten at the same time, and it was wonderful, and now they're all teenagers, and we didn't think it through, because now they're all teenagers, and they're getting kicked out of school, and they're,
Well, Gil might have thought
rebelling,
it
and
through. How many times he told you, no, Patty, no, Patty.
Some people just bring home stray dogs and cats.
Not Patty. She brings home
kids.
stray kids.
Yes.
So, it's not, our home has not been an easy place for Ashley or anyone else.
Right.
But I think maybe more so for Ashley because she is such a private person and such a standoffish person. And that wall is so high and so thick that it's probably been harder. Like she never says I love you. Never.
No.
Really?
Never.
No.
she went through a long time there where she wouldn't call me mom, and she just recently, since she came back, got to where she's calling me mom again. So very, very hard place for her to, I mean, ideally, all of these kids in foster care or that get adopted would be adopted into a home that they were the only child and they could be
There's just so many kids.
spoiled, but there are so many kids and so few homes that that's just not the case,
Right.
I mean, that's why I'm out there recruiting all the time for new foster families, new adoptive families. We're doing, I'm doing recruiting meetings every single week.
Do you do those at your office? Where do you do those?
I do those here in Burleson.
So if somebody's interested in attending one of your recruiting meetings, what's the criteria? What do they need to know in order to go?
They just need to show up.
Just show up at your office.
They can call my office and set up a time that, if they can't make it to one of our meetings, they can set up a time that I can meet with them. But we are always constantly doing recruiting meetings for both foster and adoptive families. Huge need in Johnson County. Well, there's a huge need everywhere, but a huge need for, foster families that will take kids in Johnson County. The most fulfilling thing that anyone can ever do with their life.
Because basically you're saving the life of another child. I mean, seriously. I mean, where would Mackenzie and Ashley be? I mean, Mackenzie's in a safe place. You know where Ashley is. But where would they be if people like Patty didn't step up and do this?
And, we look at this and there's, a lot of people are like, you hear people say all the time, oh, I could never, take a child and then have them go home. But, that is, ideally, that's exactly what you want. Mm-hmm. You want to be able to take that child and take care of them while the parents are taking care of themselves.
Right.
To get to a point where those kids can go back home. Because if you're thinking about, oh, I don't want these kids to leave me, you're making it all about you.
Right. It's never about you.
No, it's about these kids. So ideally, you take these kids and you're taking care of them. And, you can speak life into these kids, whether that child is with you for 2 weeks, 2 months, or 2 years. You can make a difference. Mm-hmm. And I think that we are just now seeing the outcome from that because, now most of the kids that we fostered are grown, or at least teenagers, and we hear from some of these kids, and, sadly, some of them are in prison. We have, sent one of our kids that we fostered for years. He's doing life in prison.
Wow.
And I write to him every week. I'm the only one he has contact with. So just being a support to these kids, for them to know that somebody cares.
Right.
And we hear now from kids that are, in the past year, I've had 2 different kids that were teenagers in our home asked me to take their kids.
Really?
Wow.
And on these, we are right now raising a 3-year-old that belonged to one of our former fosters. But these 2 kids, I had to say no. I mean, we've got to stop somewhere, right?
Right.
I told my husband we were either going to have to stop or we were going to have to find a nursing home that would let us take kids. Because we're getting a little old for this.
Right.
It was a whole lot easier 30 years ago raising a toddler than it is now.
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
So we have a 3-year-old, kicks my butt every day.
I bet.
Most people our age are traveling and, thinking about retirement, and we're still changing diapers.
Yeah.
So, but that's the life that we've chosen, and I don't regret it at all.
No.
I don't regret it. But you can make such a difference in these kids' lives.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting to know that you don't have to get involved, you don't have to necessarily be a parent, but you can actually get involved in other ways, right?
Mm-hmm. You can volunteer, you can sign up to be a CASA worker, anybody in your community can help, even if it's donating clothes, donating food, you can help in some way invest into the life of a foster child.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
And there's actually an organization here in Johnson County called Fostering in Faith in Johnson County, and it's for the area churches to get involved with foster families. It can be something as simple as, I know last week one of our foster families, the dad had a stroke. The parents have 6 teenage foster kids.
Wow.
So Brazos Christian Church took food to the family every night that week, just so they would have, a meal, and that's one less thing that the foster mom had to deal with.
Right.
So just something as simple as that can make all the difference in the world.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And, unfortunately, a lot of people, when they foster, 65% of foster families quit in the first year.
Really?
They foster. And
It's too much to handle?
Well, lack of support.
I was going to say sometimes it's
Wow.
not the kids, it's not the stress from the kids.
Yeah.
It's the agencies and how they do or don't support you and
Right.
And the community
And the
and the
community.
family,
Yeah,
I mean, you wouldn't believe how many times we hear how crazy we are for taking these kids.
a few years ago we had 2 kids who we ultimately ended up adopting, but we had them when they were very young, and when they got a little older they would just run away. They'd run down the street to a barbecue joint. And
At least you know where
and
they were
those
going.
people, they would go down there. It got to be a treat because those people would, oh, baby, let me feed you a hot meal. You're in a foster home. You must not get loved on. No, that's not the case. Then
They were
a few
working
years,
it.
well, then a few years later, we learned out that they were biological aunt and uncle.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Just a fluke.
Wow.
Their family wasn't even from this side of the country.
Did they know that
country
they
being
were the
Texas.
biological
Did they
aunt and
They
uncle?
did.
They did know the
They
whole
did.
time.
And but they caused lots of problems, and
yeah.
sometimes your community.
Why could they have stepped up and taken the kids?
No, they were crazy.
Oh, well then, there you go.
I'm
No.
not even joking. They were
Yeah.
nuts, but they, people in the community could help out in different ways. And yeah, it was great. The kids loved that treat. Get to have a barbecue sandwich, and
Sure.
they also had a malt shop, so they would go next door for ice cream, and so they would spend the afternoon just running off.
Yeah.
But then we had a lady down that lived on the corner because we used to live straight down here, and the people behind us would call when they would see my brother Nate out because, well, Nate's weird, and I can't help it. I can't help it. My brother is a nut.
Yeah.
He lives with me. He's grown. I can say that. But they every time they saw Nate out, they would call the police.
Wow.
He looks suspicious. He looks this. He looks that. Well, he's Asperger's,
Oh, there
so
you
he
go.
does crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But the community, if our community around us took time to understand and embrace the foster care idea, this would completely be a different type of function that could happen. And back to the, you don't have to foster and adopt in order to be part of. If you feel that God is talking to you about fostering and adoption, but you know that you can't do it, but you feel like He's calling you to help, approach your pastors.
There you go.
Talk to them. Get them to open it up. Invite in the keep. There's so many different ways that you can be involved and get your church involved, even if it means opening up a day for a respite to where these foster and adoptive families can come in and drop their kids off for a couple of hours to be taken care of by people who aren't going to hurt them, who they're not in danger and they're having a good time, and let the parents get out for the night. There is so many different ways to help, and that's important.
Amen.
I love it. What important messages. Nicole, you have some fans on here. I'm just saying. Yeah. So Julie Netherly, I got to find her message because it was so sweet. She said, where are you, Julie
I think I saw
Netherly?
that.
She said, thank you for sharing your story, praying for restored relationships and strength for daily direction. So, Julie, thank you for tuning in, Julie. We also have Robbie Brodus on here. So, hello, Robbie. He's coming all the way in from Tennessee. We appreciate you being here, Robbie. Deal Rooks is on here.
Hey.
Yes, hey, Deal. Peyton Randall, she said, love this. Love this. So, Debbie Napier Lee. How are you doing, Debbie?
I go
Who
to
else
church
is
with
on
her.
here?
Yeah.
I love Debbie. Yeah. Kaylee Tisdall is on here. So we just appreciate y'all
Kaylee.
tuning in this morning and commenting below. And if you have a want or a need to learn more information about foster care, then you can attend the meeting on every Tuesday at 5 o'clock at A World for Children right up here off of Renfro.
Right.
Yep. So
Nicole, thank you so much
Thank you for asking me.
opening up. I know this had to be hard for you, but
It's
thank
good.
you.
It
Thank
was good
you.
for me. Thank you.
Oh, are we gone? I was
We're
reading more
done.
messages. I'm so sorry.
We're done.
Okay, I guess we're done for the day, y'all. Sorry. I was so intrigued.
Join us next Thursday.
Next Thursday, 10 to 11, Intentional Parenting will be back. But in the meantime, y'all have a great day and be safe.
Thank you.